Hi, good morning guys. Today we are going to speak to you a little bit about malaria, where it comes from, what are the symptoms, how do we treat it, and how to prevent getting malaria. So it is something that is in Namibia, and it is something that has been spreading. We kind of had the endemic areas for malaria were in the far north, always at the Kavango and at the Kunene, but recently that area has started to move down more to Tsumeb, even past Tsumeb to Otjiwarongo. So it's starting to be an issue in our town as well. So we are going to discuss a little bit about malaria. Mr. Bays, can you start us off with the symptoms of malaria?
Yes, yeah. Thanks, Landi. I think a lot of people, when you mention the word malaria, it will send shivers down your spine, but I think it's important to just get a little bit of perspective. It is true, the endemic area or the transmittable area has moved more south, but still in Namibia, yearly we report about roughly 14,000 cases of malaria and between 15 and 40 deaths, which is a lot. Obviously we want to prevent that. And once we know about the disease, we know what measures to take to prevent it and how to treat it. I think there's a few important things. The first thing is the sooner you get diagnosed with malaria, the better the outcome. And then as well, the preventative measures are really important. So people ask, what type of symptoms will you experience? And this is where it gets tricky. So if you're unsure, it's always better to immediately visit your closest health facility to get tested with a proper test. The typical symptoms that people with malaria will experience is flu-like symptoms, typical body aches, you're feverish. There's different phases of the malaria. Sometimes for a few hours you are very cold, and then it's really hot and you are sweating and everything. But those are typical symptoms also from severe flu, for instance, and urinary tract infections as well. So that's why it's important to get as soon as possible to a health facility. But Landi, I spoke about the preventative measures, and I think that's something that a lot of people neglect. Yes. To prevent being bitten by a mosquito who carries the parasite that will eventually cause malaria. Can you tell us a little bit something about that? What products are available and what do you suggest?
Yes, so prevention for malaria it's not a rocket science. We use products like Peaceful Sleep or Buzz Off, or you get even more Tabat, many products on the market that you can apply before, especially in the evenings when the sun goes down. The mosquitoes start to become active, so we apply that in the evenings especially, and then that kind of deters them away. The other thing is to wear loose-fitting long-sleeve clothes when you know you are in these areas, so the mosquitoes won't have a surface area to go sit on and to bite you. And also to use protective things in your house, such as netting in front of your doors. A lot of the time people just put on the ceiling fans or something. The movement of the air kind of deters the mosquitoes as well. So these are just practical things that you can do to not get bitten. So like Mr. Bai said, the biggest thing with malaria is just that people think it's a flu and they don't get tested for malaria. And then if it has gone on for a week or two, sometimes not even that long, you are in a very dangerous area, because then you start really to get really sick. So when you know you've been in an area where malaria is prevalent, just get tested. Usually it takes about 2 weeks after you've been in that area for you to start developing these symptoms. So if you know I've been there, let me just get tested, make sure that it's a flu and not malaria. Yeah.
Well, I think what's important, the role of the rapid tests. We have an example of a rapid test here. I've lived in a malaria-endemic area for about 8 years in the Caprivi. I had the unfortunate privilege of contracting malaria with my family, and it's not nice. People usually ask what symptoms I should look out for, and I'll tell them, well, if you feel the worst that you've ever felt before in your life, you probably have malaria. It's absolutely It's not a nice disease to have. And the other thing, I just quickly want to mention it, is that you don't get better. You get worse from day 1 to day 2 to day 3. And then you should really make a plan to get to a health facility. Just quickly about the rapid test. My own experience with this is it's useful, but it doesn't always pick up the malaria in the beginning stage of malaria. I would almost say that it will only test positive once you have full-blown symptoms of malaria. So yes, useful, but don't rely on this absolutely. The best would be to have a proper blood smear, to have it analyzed through a microscope to get the diagnosis. But then there's also another contentious issue, Landi, and that's prevention through tablets. A lot of people living in an endemic area, we get a lot of requests and questions about how do you should you use preventative measures in the form of a tablet like the Malaria-endemic if you are living in an area where malaria is prevalent?
Yeah, so I think if you're going to places where the chances are much higher, then it is good to drink something like Malaria-endemic when you go there. So you start drinking it a while before you leave for this area, and you drink it every day while you are there. And afterwards, when you come back a few days, you just continue drinking it. And this prevents us from getting malaria and contracting malaria. It's the best option that we have medication-wise to help us. But there are also a few side effects with these tablets. They can make you feel slightly nauseous. They can give you a headache. That's why I say I would only do it when I go to really dangerous areas. If it's not an area that high in malaria and that high in cases of malaria, I'd rather just use the preventative measures that I discussed previously. But yeah, if you're going to an area with a high chance of getting malaria, then the tablets are a very good option for you. And then the other thing is, as soon as we've diagnosed malaria, then we will start with the treatment of malaria. So this is just the key part of everything. As soon as we do the diagnosis, from there, most of the time it's quite easy. It's downhill from there to get you treated. So one of the options, if it's not that severe malaria yet, one of the options is tablets like Lumiter. There are different names on the market. You get a few different brand names. So this is just one of the brand names that we have on stock here, and then you start taking this for the treatment.
Yeah, I think that's a good news, Landi, about the whole treatment of malaria, is that the treatment is really effective. In the old days, we used to give people quinine and quinine drips. Oh, and that made you even feel worse than the malaria itself. But the treatment with the Lumiter or the Coartem, which is the other product, which contains the same active ingredient, are highly effective. The key again is to start with the treatment as soon as possible. So in the end, if we look at the whole picture about malaria, the prevalence, the danger it poses to people in Namibia, I think there's really good news. But the important factors are early diagnosis, good protection with normal measures like this, and then get to a health facility as soon as possible, because the treatments are really effective.
Yeah, yeah, guys, so that's all we have to say today about malaria. Thank you for watching. Have a great day and a blessed weekend, and hope you tune in next Friday, where medicine matters. We'd like to discuss a new topic with you next Friday. Have a good weekend.
Good day.
Bye-bye.